where's the balls? I mean, alternative doesn't mean you can't have balls and like kill it, like rock in there, but apparently for a while there, it did mean that. And now they would have to, when certain bands would come out with certain stuff, they'd have to play it. I mean, they have to play the new Linkin Park. They'd be lynched if they didn't play new Linkin Park, right?
But before we begin the show, let's thank our sponsors. First and foremost, our title sponsor, Once Upon a Coconut, all natural, non-GMO coconut water with natural electrolytes and no added sugar. You can choose from pure blueberry, pineapple, watermelon, sparkling energy, and chocolate flavors with Once Upon a Coconut. Stay hydrated and refreshed. And if you're wondering why it tastes so darn good, it's due to a combination of factors, including the freshness and sweetness of young coconut water, the lack of additives, and the natural electrolytes present. And the best part about it, Once Upon a Coconut, 10% of profits go to charity that benefit our communities, including the Down Syndrome Foundation, Breast Cancer Foundation, Leukemia Society. Good things, good people, great product. So you can grab it at some Sprouts, you can grab it on Amazon, you can go online to find a store near you or purchase it right there off of their website, onceuponacoconut.com. It is delish. Big thanks to Inspect All Pest Services, our buddy Nick and the crew over at Inspect All Pest Services, providing the highest quality termite, pest, and wildlife control. That's not all they do. Inspect All can take care of your insulation, pressure washing, gutter maintenance, and other home services in Metro Atlanta and the surrounding areas. Remember, seasonal, you get different bugs and critters all around your house, so you want to go with the best in the business, and that would be one of our fine sponsors from day one, InspectAllServices.com. It's the Mad Dog, Manny Aurora, with the Aurora Law Firm, best darn defense attorney in the world, litigating all over the United States, based out of Georgia. We're talking criminal defense, white-collar crime, DUI, drug offenses, appeals, and more. And you can always get your legal questions answered by the Mad Dog, Manny Aurora, by getting those to me. And when he pops up on a show, you get your questions answered. So go to thebaileyshow.com and we'll get those questions to the Mad Dog. The Aurora Law Firm.com. He is the best in the business when it comes to therapists. There's no doubt about that. I use them, and so should you. We're talking about Dr. David Markwell with Ridgeline Counseling. He's got 10 therapists in-house, 3 different locations there in Georgia, one across from Sprayberry High School in Sandy Plains in East Cobb, Marietta near the Square in McKaysville, just outside of Blue Ridge. But if you're not in Georgia and you need to talk to the good doctor, then you can go online and get virtual sessions. Ridgeline Counseling at gmail.com if you'd like to email him directly, or go online to markwelltherapy.com. There is no better time to check if your insurance is any good. That's why FBC Insurance is waiting for you to reach out. You can call them at 888-308-1841 or email them info@fbcinsuranceservices.com. I just switched up my car insurance because I got a better deal at FBC Insurance. They were the people to find it. Perfect for new homeowners, especially if you're trying to reshop those current insurance policies. 5-star service, multi-policy, bundled discounts, and they're going to shop every carrier out there to find the best insurance for your house, flood, storm season, auto, motorcycle, boat, recreational vehicle, or just a personal policy. 888-308-1841 or go online, FBCInsuranceServices.com. Another one of our great sponsors in storm season. You have to talk to the good people at Alternate Power Solutions of Georgia. Family owned and operated. They are a Generac generator dealer, founded in 2012. So storm season, power goes out. Who knows when it's coming back on? Don't be that guy or girl that does not have a backup plan and having power for whatever it be, especially medical devices, fans, air conditioning, so on and so forth. Offering sales, service, installation, and repair of automatic home standby and portable generators, every single one of you. When you become a customer at Alternate Power Solutions of Georgia, you get an upgraded warranty, free monitoring, and warranty repair. A+ rating with the BB&B, and you pay nothing until the job is complete. Call or request a free home assessment and go to their website, poweringgeorgia.com, or buzz them at 770-853-7571. Use the discount code Bailey, my last name, and get $500 off your entire installation. All right? Servicing Georgia and Tennessee. Again, another great sponsor of the BS podcast that is going to come to your aid here during storm season. And I'm talking about Cliff Bratcher and Jayco Contracting. This one hits home for me because I needed advice from Cliff and Jayco Contracting when my mother got a hole in her roof. Now, Jayco Contracting helping the good folks out in Georgia. And if you're in Georgia, you call him this storm season just to know that you're going to be taken care of when that tree falls through your roof or your shingles come off or a hole somehow appears. service, right? They are a platinum preferred contractor with Owens Corning, licensed and insured roofing and gutter specialists covering all of Georgia. Keep in mind, if you've not gone through this process, Cliff and Jayco Contracting are going to take care of it from start to finish. That means dealing with the insurance companies. That can be a headache and a negotiation, and they're the best to do it. Commercial and residential satisfaction guaranteed. JaycoContracting.com, or 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You give Cliff Brasher a call at 770-316-3876. Alive Ozone Therapy Spa in Altamont Springs, Florida. This is mine and my wife's wellness spa. If you have an autoimmune, cancer, HIV, just simple biohacking, long COVID, the answer is yes to just about anything that's going on in your body. Most of the time it starts with inflammation, and ozone therapy, it decreases inflammation. So ozone therapy, we are the first and only to do it in Central Florida. That is Alive Ozone Therapy Spa. We also offer red light therapy, halo therapy, pressotherapy, PMF grounding mat, as well as naturally in-house made ozone infused products like the magnesium butter that many of you absolutely love. Ozone therapy, what is it? Quickly, it repairs and rejuvenates your cells to the mitochondrial level by using activated oxygen. Simple as that. No side effects. That's all there is to it. It's a 30-minute session, and you actually burn up to 600 calories when you're in the Hocket sauna. We do it the most non-invasive way. So whether you're in the area or you want to travel, book an appointment, aliveozonetherapyspa.com. All the products you can get there as well. And remember, for you two peers, use the discount code BS10 to take that off those online products. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, reach out to me via thebaileyshow.com. And if you are a listener of this podcast and you need any of our great sponsors, please reach out to them. Now, let's begin.
I think we should do a podcast about rock and roll. And that's some stories.
Yeah, let's do it. Welcome to the Vinyl Road Podcast.
There it is.
Ah.
It's the Vinyl Road Podcast, episode 1. And thanks for being here. My name's Jason Bailey, and there's the man that we collaborated with because of our amazing chemistry and relationship. He is the bassist for the band Saliva, the original bassist for the band Shinedown. And let's throw in fuel while we're at it. It is Mr. Brad Stewart. How are you, Brad?
How about you? What's going on?
This is good. So we are, I'm looking for my applause here so we can be really professional. There we go. All right.
Like so to thank the Academy.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll get to the Academy stuff. So this, for those that are listening, for my audience, for Brad's fans, the whole thing came about is because, Brad and I have known each other since day one of Shinedown, back to, 2001 or whatever it was, 2000. And then Brad and I kind of reconnected, and then just would come on the BS podcast. And we're like, dude, you've got so many rock and roll stories, and I've always wanted to do a podcast like this. And Brad, your response was like, oh, are you really going to give me a microphone to share all these stories?
Man, I'm honored to be here. It's just cool for me to kind of look back on things. I've done it for so long, and just in different bands and different situations, and just so much to tell. I mean, there's so much cool stuff that happened. I mean, and I think people hopefully want to hear it. We'll see what happens.
Well, as a rock and roll fan, you see it from one perspective, and you might hear news or read online something that's happened, but to get it from a guy that's been in the business for 3 decades plus, been on some of the biggest stages around some of the biggest artists and bands, that's a totally different perspective. And I can tell you as a fan, that's interesting to me. And you've got a million stories that you're going to share throughout these different episodes, which is going to be cool. Have you noticed that as you've gotten older, and it's, I don't want to say old hat, doing, go up there and perform, and it's the same old, but do the stories get better the longer you're in the industry, or do they kind of get watered down?
I mean, you get older, and then all of a sudden everyone's like sober, and you're like, man, how boring. Before when we were first doing it, everyone's out of their fucking minds and like going crazy and like staying up all night and sleeping all day. And just, on the Saliva bus, it's the song Up All Night, up all day is
Honor.
one of the sayings, but that's a Paul Crosby. But yeah, it's funny because when back in 02, 03, we were first getting started, and there's a lot of bands had already released a record or so before us, like Saliva, and we're just seeing them do it, and we're doing it as hard as we can go, and Three Doors and Seether and all those bands, and like now a lot of them pretty much I can say are sober, or they're not in the same bands anymore, or whatever happened, or the band's not around anymore. I mean, or some bands like Earshot, our friends in Earshot, they're making a comeback, and our friends in Cold, now it's Scooter, of course, but it's a different band around him, and then of course, Limp Bizkit's back together. I'm pretty sure all those guys though are sober, and it's just different, man.
Did you ever have a problem with that?
Sobriety?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I was ever to a point where I never like went to rehab or any of that sort of business. I mean, I've had some, it'd be more about like drinking too much sometimes,
you all drink too much. You almost wonder if you're in that environment that
right.
what would be a night of me drinking too much. Like I just had one the other night, I threw up and all that good stuff. I was gambling while on vacation in the Bahamas. But for a rock star, when you do it and you're a little bit out of control, which to the normal person would just be a Friday night, if it's intensified because of the history with alcoholism in the rock world.
I would just say I don't usually throw up. So, I mean, it would have to be like I'd have to drink a lot for me to throw up. I just don't, but maybe that's a bad thing because then yeah, I'm paying for it the whole next day or whatever. But I mean, you just drink it. I mean, we got to the point where we would drink a lot of vodka, I mean, and that was pretty recently on the Saliva bus, but we've scaled it back. I'm trying to do like maybe a little bit of vodka and then switch to red wine after the set. Maybe just you know what I mean, to where we're not guzzling the hard liquor. And we have this thing. I call it a hard Arnie, right? And like the Arnold Palmer, but instead of sweet tea, it's diet green tea. The Arizona with the geisha girl, and then I have like the Simply light lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
The light lemonade, right? And then I cut it. So it's so delicious that the problem is you don't realize how much you're drinking because it tastes. I mean, it's amazing. And then sometimes if I'm home, I have a garden back there, and I'll muddle some mint in there. So if you muddle some mint, just try this. And vodka, seriously, it will change your life. But I mean, it may be for the worse because then all of a sudden, a couple drinks turns into like 10 because it's just so amazing, especially like during the summer. It's a nice kind of light summery kind of thing, but it has to specifically be the Simply Light and the Arizona green tea diet, or it will not work.
The only thing that would make that story better is you telling me that Phil Anselmo from Pantera told you about that recipe. Man, you got to muddle some mint, brother.
It doesn't sound very tough.
No,
but I mean, it's not like a black tooth grin or something, which I had my whiskey days. Like I said, I'm trying, man. I'm fucking trying to get better here. But, it's more of like, just trying to not drink brown liquor and trying to kind of chill out on the hard liquor. And then, with the wine in there afterwards. But no, I mean, we would do old fashioned. We would just drink it just neat, or maybe a small ice cube to kind of open it up. On the fuel bus, I want to say we would get scotch, and I never used to drink scotch, but Andy Anderson, our guitar player, was into scotch at the time, right? And he get this scotch. It was 16-year-old. It's called Lagavulin. Are you familiar?
No, I'm not a scotch guy.
Oh my God, dude. And so he tried to start me on that, and our drummer Shannon Boone was like, "It tastes like Band-Aids." I was like, "Band-Aids? What the fuck?" So anyway, so we kind of went, and we're like, "All right, we need more of like a entry level situation here for the scotch." So that became Johnny Walker Black. So that's a blend. So it's a little less like peaty, and like the Lagavulin was like, you got to be like a an aficionado, a connoisseur to get into that stuff. It was a little bit tougher, but so we went back to the Johnny Black, and we had it on the rider, and man, that's a hell of a buzz. I tell you what, that's something else.
Have you ever gone into a show and had something specific on the rider? Maybe it's in a small town, a small venue or whatnot. They couldn't find the brand that you wanted, so they get you kind of like the knockoff brand, and they come in and be like, "You got to try it. It tastes the same, and it just tastes like shit."
I have, and no offense to Jesse Dupree and Jack. I think he still has his bourbon.
He does.
But we were at the machine shop, and they gave us, our I guess we were doing makers back then, but they didn't have any more makers, Mark. And so he's like, Kevin Zink, the owner of the machine shop, was like, "Here, try this though. I think you'll like it. It's his bourbon." And I was like, it was tough, man. I'm sorry, bro, but it wasn't the same. I mean, it wasn't the same. Trying to be nice here. It was tough, man. It was like I felt my insides burning, like bleeding almost, like. But anyway,
he does a hell of a job promoting that damn bourbon. I can tell you that right now. He's a machine promoting that bourbon.
He's great at that. Maybe it's gotten better. Maybe they've kind of tweaked the formula. But this was years ago. I mean, I think it's when it first came out. Maybe so. But yeah, that was one of those stories. But Wayne, when Wayne was alive, at certain times he would drink Fireball whiskey, and sometimes they would bring him other cinnamon whiskeys, and they were better. I'm like, Wayne, the Fireball's terrible, dude. Like, it's like it got like, what has it got? Like antifreeze in it. I mean, they wouldn't even sell it in some countries, dude. It's got like, it's bad, but he loved it, man. And he would drink that shit like
Wayne, but Wayne probably was. I mean, look at the time now. Like Saliva, Shinedown, all these bands, part of, from the radio side of things. So for Brad's fans, you probably don't know me, but I'm a radio personality, been doing it for 30 years. I was the guy that I guess technically gets credit for being the first to play Shinedown on the radio, and that's kind of how our relationship started. So I do have a little bit of knowledge about the business. And so you look at bands like Saliva and Shinedown and Puddle of Mud and Three Doors, all part of that active rock generation during the new rock alternative radio days. Now they're OGs, as if like what Pearl Jam's and the Metallica, as far as time, I'm not talking about talent and format and all that stuff. Wayne would have probably been an OG even at the beginning, where he's kind of Zach Wilding it, right? He's whiskey straight up in your face, always to that old school rock guy. Because now those kids in the rock bands are like, dude, muddle me some fucking mint, right?
Exactly. Muddle me some mint, maybe a little umbrella, a little pink, maybe a little martini glass, No, the thing was that Wayne, though, he was older than us. So Wayne was an OG in the 80s kind of thing. Like, yeah. So, I mean, like, he was definitely, I mean, I don't know if he went through his Jack Daniels period, but definitely that guy. I mean, he was, but it's just, yeah, like you said, like these new bands, I don't even know if any of them, I mean, they probably drink those, maybe the THC drinks or something, or maybe like some of those. Have you seen the Hayo? Are you familiar with the Hayo drinks?
No,
it's like, I think you can only get it at Sprouts, but it's like these nootropic, these, I don't even know what the fuck's in it. I mean, it's actually pretty good though. It's kind of a good,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I've been trying to substitute that in there too sometimes, man. Like, dude,
so I told you before we started, so my feed has the title sponsor of Once Upon a Coconut. This is great as far as a healthy drink. Throw some vodka in it. Muddle your mint and throw some vodka in one of these babies, like the pineapple or the watermelon.
Okay.
You're getting your electrolytes. You're getting your natural sugars. You're getting your kick with vodka, and now you got your muddled mint.
The thing is, you're getting rehydrated at the same time that you're dehydrating yourself. It's genius. Yeah, send me some of that. I want to do that.
You will never be dehydrated while you're being dehydrated.
The thing is, I'm going to add the green tea and the lemonade into it. It's going to be sick, dude. I mean, it's going to be good. I think we're onto something here. But what are we going to call it? I can't call it a hard Arnie anymore, though.
No, call it a bad Brad.
What?
Call it a bad Brad.
Bad Brad. Okay.
Call it a bad Brad. This is a bad Brad.
We're inventing shit as we speak right here on the damn thing. It's awesome.
We're going to use this as a vehicle. This is only episode 1. We're going to start promoting the bad Brad, and you're going to be on the market everywhere, and people are going to love this new drink, and they're like, where the hell did that come from? This little podcast, episode 1, go all the way back to the bad Brad invention.
You know what's funny about that, though, is I do have a degree in biology, and I worked as a chemist at the Bacardi plant here in Jacksonville, and the product development lab was the one behind the one that I worked in. I was in QC, but maybe I could slide that in. I still know some folks at the plant there, and just be like, man, maybe this could be like the new thing, like a coconut water, vodka, lemonade, green tea, mint.
Just as long as it's in the skinny can, because it's very trendy.
Yeah.
You got to have, everything has to be in a skinny can right now.
Skinny can. Okay.
Skinny can. The bad Brad's in a skin. Just have your face on the front with your dreads and everything. Just be like, drink it.
I'm into this. I think we're onto something, man. Maybe someone watching, can help us, develop this and get it going, if my Bacardi people don't want to do it, I don't know.
I'm an idea guy. I throw them out all the time. People take them too. They never give me credit for it. It sucks. So you guys in Saliva were just out in Vegas. You played Fremont Street, which is technically the old strip in Vegas. I saw the pictures from that. It was it wasn't just you guys. It was like
no, it was Drowning Pool and Hinder were they played it. See, so Fremont Street. If have you ever been down there?
Oh yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
I mean, but actually, when they're doing their concert series, or no?
Never with the concert series.
Okay, so by the D, there's a stage. By Circa, there's a stage, and then at the end, by what is that? Dropacana, whatever that is, down at the end. There's like 3 stages. So Drowning Pool and we Saliva and Drowning Pool played on the one by Circa. Hinder played on the one down the way there. And there's, at the time, it was punk rock bowling. So there was a punk rock music festival happening literally 2 blocks away too. So there's people everywhere, dude. It was one of the craziest times I've ever been, when I've been to Vegas. But I mean, when we played, and we played last, and I think we went on at like 9:30, but it was nuts to butts, just slam packed in there, man. I mean, and it's a street, and then there's people flying by on the zip lines. If you're probably familiar. I don't know if you ever did the zip line. That's pretty cool too. But yeah, it was a blast, man. And it was probably 92 degrees though when we played. So I don't know. People are like, yeah, it's the dry heat, man. It's so much better. I'm like, no, it isn't, bro. It's like, it's fucking terrible. Like it was hot, man. And I was, so Ryan from Drowning Pool, Ryan McCombs he was in our dressing room after they played, and his face was just beat red, man. And I'm like, bro, are you okay, man? And he's like, man, just wait till you get up there. It's probably going to be a little cooler because we were a little bit after them or whatever. But he's like, just wait. I want to see your face when you come off the stage, So yeah, we were laughing though. I mean, and that was a good time, man. Yeah, we do Fremont Street just about every year, I want to say, man. I mean, those folks are good to us down there, and they usually have us back every year.
That's a cool gig. The pictures looked awesome. I saw on your social media and stuff. So Ryan, he's fronted Drowning Pool. I love that guy. I mean, I haven't spoken to him in years, but he, of course, Ryan from Soil, which I loved Soil. I thought the band was killer. And I remember in the early Shinedown days, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Soil, Shinedown, 3 Doors on a tour. Am I right on that?
We did a tour with Soil, and we called it No Rest for the Liver.
No Rest for the Liver.
Yes. Now, we didn't do, I don't remember ever doing a tour with them with 3 Doors. We may have done some shows or this or that, but we definitely did a tour with Soil way back then.
Yeah, 'cause I remember the last night of the tour was in Orlando at the House of Blues, and I brought up shots of, funny enough, Jaeger, I believe.
Oh God. Oh
And
man.
and for some reason I don't know if somebody told me to do this or I was invited up there. For some reason I want to think that I like orchestrated. I don't know why or why I would do that. But everybody that was on the tour, there was another band on that tour. I thought
Oh, well, we did some touring. So it was Shinedown, Seether, Our Lady Peace, Three Doors. There was Shinedown, Seether, Three Doors. There was Shinedown, Tantric, Three Doors. We did a lot of touring early in the day with Three Doors. Only a couple of runs with Soil.
but it
But
was soil. It was definitely soil because
it was
Ryan.
definitely Soil.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely soil. Might have
So
been-
man, I can't remember who would have been the opener on that, or if someone was after our bands.
Soil was the opener, and then there was a middle band. So it would have been Three Doors.
Now Earshot was with us on some of that stuff too, but they dropped off that tour. I don't know what happened, but you know, sometimes things don't work out and bands don't finish the tour. But man, trying to think, Crossfade maybe. No, we did some stuff with Silvertide, Crossfade, Shinedown. We did Silvertide, Tantric, and Shinedown. We did a lot of touring. It gets confusing, man. Like, you know, different bands, different, for me, especially with Fuel, you know, there was certain tours we did with Shinedown, of course. And then now with Saliva, I mean, I've been in Saliva 10 years now. So, I mean, we played with just about everybody at this point, you know. But if it was a House of Blues size venue, it wouldn't have been Three Doors on that side. They were doing big shit from like the day one. It seems like, you know.
Well, that's not true. When you guys were opening for Three Doors, you guys were at the Hard Rock.
Well, Hard Rock, I mean, that's bigger, but still a bigger room though than House of Blues is what? 1,500 maybe?
It's a little under 2, but in Hard Rock's about 2,400.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
It's not too far up, but I mean, it's the same type of, I mean, tell me if I'm off, but it's the same type of tour for a band. You know, it's the step up from the bar gig. You know, you're now at a venue, and then the next step up from that would be, you know, festival and then arena and then that kind of thing, right?
It just depended on the tour. Like we did some stuff with Three Doors early, and it was like they were like arenas, like small arenas, like either hockey, or if it was out west, it was like a rodeo type situation, or it was like outdoor and they put the stage in front of the grandstands type thing. I mean, they did a lot of big stuff, and you know, it was a lot of in markets that weren't like primary markets or secondary. It was more like, you know, Billings, Montana, or like or say Cheyenne, Wyoming, but like the whole place showed up. You know what I mean? Like, so we did a lot of that kind of stuff with them. But again, remember, we were first of like 3 or 4 on the bill. I think, yeah, we played 30 minutes for a lot of that first, like Leave a Whisper. We pretty much became a band on those stages with those guys because, I mean, we were first of 4, but we had a nice bit of stage, you know, to rock on. They gave us some lights and the sound was killer. So, I mean, it wasn't like playing like tiny clubs. We got to play on like good sized stages early on. And then once we did the Van Halen tour in 2004, Bandit Lights, and we can save that for another thing, but they gave us a lighting package and a lighting guy. So really, after a year being in it, we had our own lighting package. And I mean, so we were pretty lucky, man. And you know, we started out, of course, the first few shows in an RV, but then we got a short bus, and they used to make fun of us because the bus, you know, they're typically about 45 feet long, whatever, and you'd usually drag a trailer behind it. But this one was an MCI coach, and it was 35 feet. So they were like, here come Shinedown and short bus, and they did just like, dude.
And that was
really come on.
That was Three Doors' old bus, right?
No, we ended up in one of their old buses before, and also I think when we did the Van Halen tour, I swear we were on Caesar's old Prevost that they had taken on several tours, and you know, and that's again another story for another time. But they didn't pay us on that tour, so we had to really make it make sense to the label, because the label was footing the bill for our crew and the gas and the driver and the bus and the lodging and everything. So they wanted us to try to do it in like a van or an RV. The Van Halen tour. You imagine this? We about sold a gold record, and the label was like, "Do you guys think y'all could do it in a van?" And we're like, "No, Hell no, So what our management, thank God, McGathy and Indigo and our day to day guys, Corey and G, they put together budgets and they were like, we're going to do it in a bus. It's going to be an older coach, and we're going to basically use the venues for showers. We'll get the driver a hotel room every night, and they made it make sense, and the label agreed to it, and we didn't do it in a van or an RV, So
I never understood why bands in that situation don't get a sponsor. And I mean, I know like the day and age of selling out, back in the day, the diehard gearheads, you're selling out. You just had to go on the radio when you were considered selling out. And I always had a problem with that because as a musician, the whole idea is to get paid to make a living doing what you love, and that's making music for the mass audience to hear. And the way to do that at the time was really solely radio. So I never understood that concept, but get a sponsor, Bad Brad's a drink or Once Upon a Coconut, right? And then you just, when you go up on stage, you just, you have a spot. I mean, it is what it is. It's capitalism. And they
don't think that we tried. Now Jaeger came in and they would, but the thing is they were more like, we'll put your name on lighters and we'll do this and that, and then you could throw out t-shirts and we'll do posters, but we're not going to give you money, like support on the road. Now maybe they wrap people's buses, but they didn't I don't think wrapping buses was even a thing back then. Right. I mean, keep in mind, dude, this is like 2003, 2004. I mean, and even though we had sold, some records, it took a while, man. We had to go out there and just do it, and a couple singles go by. 45 did pretty well, but I mean, we were still playing in some places, 50 people might show up. So we would be like, can we go back with 3 doors? Fuck this headlining shit, like, let's go back on the arena tour, because we thought we were big and bad. Oh man, we got singles out now. We can go out and do it on our own, right? And then some places, it'd be light, because you don't sell well. I mean, of course, the airplay markets, people are going to show up, but what if it's not an airplay market, and the band, or maybe they're still on single number 1 and they barely played it. So you go to their place, their whatever venue or concert hall that's there, and you're also competing with the other bands that are playing in town the same night too. So it's not always like automatically you're huge everywhere you go. It was, especially in the early days. I mean, now the band is huge everywhere they go. Right. But even in Europe, they had to, because we didn't go to Europe. But when I was in the band one time, we went to Europe and we literally played like a couple shows in Germany and like a UK show with Alter Bridge in London. So, here it was 2 records in and the band had only been to Europe once. So that's the thing over there too. Same thing with over here. You got to build it. You got to start again as the opener or, I don't care how many records you sell in the States. You go over there and you kind of, build it,
But in Europe, it's funny you say Alter Bridge, because I've had this conversation with Tremonti and the guys in Alter Bridge, is that they look at rock and roll a different way than we do in the States. They're more accepting. You can have, I mean, they were doing festivals with Judas Priest and Alter Bridge and Shinedown, let's just say, for example, versus it being Judas Priest and Mastodon and Panther, like the heavy metal. The Europeans are like, just give me somebody with a guitar. That's all we want. That's rock and roll. They're a little bit more forgiving on who's up on stage versus Americans. It's not so much like that anymore, but it used to be very compartmentalized where it was like, okay, who does Shinedown fit with? Okay, Shinedown fits with 3 doors. I mean, it's not just because we're all under the same management, but the sound fits. We could throw a Chevelle out there. We could throw a Soil. We could throw a Seether, Crossfade, Colt. Those. But we're not putting them out there with Metallica. That's just silly putty, right?
Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because when we did Germany, it was Rock 'em Ring, Rock 'em Park, and it's like us and Pharrell Williams, and then like Juliette Lewis and the Licks. Turbo Negro. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, who put this shit together? It was the most hodgepodge shit of ever, but it was kind of cool that way, because like we're backstage and Pharrell's like in like this yellow raincoat you know. But like on the other stage, it's like Alice in Chains and Tool, and like there was some cool shit going on other stages too. But it was more in more of our genre of you know where we would fit in better. But since I guess we were like low totem pole, they just were like throw us in with whoever, you know, was on the other stages and stuff. But yeah, that would have been odd in the States. But I don't know, Lollapalooza, you know, I went to like the original Lollapaloozas, like 92, 93. And I mean, you had, you know, Ice Cube in there. You had Jane's Addiction. You had some different, what was it? Jesus and Mary Chain. You had different stuff. I mean, I guess it wasn't that much different, you know, but I mean, which I thought was kind of the genius of those old festivals back when it was a touring festival. It wasn't just in Chicago or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was what was cool is they had some different acts. Now, they didn't have like a country guy on there. I mean, it wasn't that extreme, but they did have a variety, you know. And you know, I think the '93 one they had like Ministry and I want to say Arrested Development. So
Yeah.
it was bizarre, like what, like it was, but it was cool because I would have never seen that band if I hadn't gone to that festival.
I always had this bit idea, and I wish somebody would do it. You know, like a Danny Wimmer would be great because he knows how to put on a good concert, right? And he knows what he's doing.
He definitely does.
But it would be called the One Hit Wonder Fest, and you would have literally all these one hit wonder bands come out and do one song, just one song. That's all. Or two songs, you know, if they have two hits, you know what I mean? So like and it's a fun drinking game to think about who you would put on that roster of one hit wonders.
Oh man.
Just like in all genres.
Remember MTV had the Buzz, was it the Buzz Bin? Or it was a Buzzworthy folks that would come on Buzzworthy. Yeah, that's what it was. And it was sometimes those artists though actually had careers and they did well, but a lot of times you're like, what was that band again that last week was on like an MTV and then nothing ever after that? Like what happened? Like it was like someone made a bad deal with their label or something and they just went away. But I mean, you gotta imagine how much politics, like people, like just because you're an artist and you're talented doesn't mean you know how to play the game of being in the industry and in the business of doing things. That doesn't mean shit. I mean, because there's so many talented people that fuck it up. They do. It's just one of those things. A lot of people get ahead of themselves. They say, oh, well, I got this big record deal now. I made it. Like, I'm good. And I'm like, oh no, you just started. Like at this point, you're a liability. You haven't made the label a fucking dollar. Like you owe them a lot of money and a lot of, you know, a lot of work. You got a lot of work to do. And then, so it was tough even for us in the early days of the Shinedown band. I mean, we're on Atlantic and we're like, which we came into Brent's deal. There's a whole backstory to that, but we were like, okay, we're ready for, you know, the machine to get put behind us. And they were like, well, you know, we're going to give you basically the radio budget and touring. And you guys got to basically get out there. And of course, the recording budget and they paid for our gear and stuff like that. But they didn't make us media darlings. They didn't blast us on MTV and drop the big bag of money off at K-Rock LA, K-Rock New York. We barely got played on some of those bigger stations at first, you know, and our manager was like the king of radio, still is. I mean, and radio doesn't have as much pull as it used to, but still they're same management. So, I mean, back in the day, we just had to go out there and we had to go out there and earn it. And again, going back to what I was saying about the Van Halen thing, we were on tour support. So all that money, we're just running a tab, an unfavorable loan, basically with the label. We're running a tab. So everything we spend on videos, everything, it has to be recouped, you know, and they want to keep you in a constant state of recoupment. That's how you're under control because, you know, oh, well, last record did good, but you just broke even. So here's another advance. Here's the recording budget. We're going to go make a record. We're going to make a video. I think so, you know, so you're back in debt and you owe them. So now you have to go back out there, whether you like it or not. I mean, if you're into it, of course, you know, you're going to go out there and rock it and do your thing. But so anyhow, like I want to say Save Me video was a $300,000 video, bro, on us and them.
Really?
$300,000.
Wow. And nowadays you could do it on your cell phone pay some kid $1,000 if even, and probably have and he cuts it up on CapCut and the same production.
And it looks good. I mean, it looks killer. So yeah, that was one thing. And that's probably the worst selling record of all of them. It sold 1 million to this point, but around that time it may have went gold or whatever after that cycle was over. But you have to imagine though, $300,000 is a lot just for one video. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, especially in the rock world, like, if you're in pop or country, that they're like, yeah, that's nothing. But like for rock and roll,
there was no MTV. There's nowhere to play. I mean, we were playing it on what Vimeo or whatever. There's the video. It's cool to have a video, but the video days in the 2000s were done. I mean, they're probably more popular now than they were then.
It's funny you say that because, 45, we did that video, much smaller budget, of course. I think it was 10 grand, but we did it in Los Angeles and everything. And it was at this, what was it? It was like this, it's like a warehouse or whatever it was shot in. But I remember though, MTV specifically, it was like almost any reason not to play it. Oh, it's a new band, whatever. They wanted to call the Staring Down. Oh, instead of 45. Yes, they had an issue with the gun reference, the suicide reference, and all this shit. And we were just like, come on, man. Like, dude, these people, I've seen way worse, from pop stars, people being sexual or whatever is going on. And like, Papa Don't Preach or Like a Virgin. I'm like, come on. Now you're worried about. So they were, though. And they didn't. It was an excuse, basically,
not to play
for limited play.
Yeah. Instead of approaching the idea and saying, hey, there's a message behind this, we should talk about the message. They ignore the message. Yeah, that's how most people act too.
Or they could have spun it as, and the way Brent would always explain it was about hope. It was more about like a warning, or like, hey, here's, don't do this, but of course, at face value, the song's called 45. That's a gun. You're staring down the barrel of a 45. Okay. But they didn't listen to the rest of the story about it, or they didn't really care to even list to even,
Well, the probably the biggest song that exists that the misconception of the song, but still gets a ton of radio play is Rape Me from Nirvana. Yeah. Which the idea, the song, if you know the backstory, it's the opposite of what you would think it is. But it is very, in your face at 6:30 in the morning when you turn on your radio station and it's Rape Me.
It's a little abrasive that early for sure. Before you've muddled your mint, of course. Before you had your green tea muddled mint, breakfast drink.
Where's that Pumped Up Kicks? That song, which is about a school shoot. I mean, that's a dark song if you know what they're talking. But you put it to have a good hook, have a good melody, and you play it and you're like, oh, this is cool, man. You're thinking, oh, it's a Reebok sneakers where I'm pumping up the tongue, man. That's bad. No, it's about school shootings. That's
it almost sounded like the Flintstones when it comes in. It's like, or am I thinking of what's the one? Didn't have to run me out. What is it?
That's
someone that you didn't know. That one sounded like the Flintstones, but that was kind of dark too. But no, back to the Pumped Up Kicks. So yeah, those lyrics are totally about a school shooting, man. I mean,
but you're just this is cool. Just listening to it.
It sounds happy. You're just kind of listening to it along, and it's very. I think that was the demo, if I'm not mistaken. The guy tried to reproduce it and make it sound all massive and pro and huge, and they're like, no, we like the demo version, let's just mix the demo, which oddly enough the song 45 is a mix of a version of one of the actual demo, because Tony Battaglia, who produced a lot of the demos early on and wrote the song with Brent actually, we had recorded it, and we had gone out after the demo phase and did another version with Bob Marlette out there in California, and the label picked so Steve-O, the A&R and the team there at Atlantic they liked the demo version better. So that's what made the record.
What was the big difference between the two?
Well, which I think you can get the other version of 45. It's Bob Marlette and produced it, and Andy Wallace mixed it. Howie Weinberg mastered the thing. So these are like huge names. Look up Andy Wallace. I mean, he mixed Nevermind. He did Slayer. I mean, just it's crazy the level. Like some of these people that were involved. I think he was like $12,000 a song to mix one song, which is so 12. I mean, that's a lot of money to have a guy mix your shit. I mean, but he was amazing, still is. But that version. I'm sorry. What was the question? I got lost.
What was the difference between the two?
Yeah. So when we did it with Bob, we did it kind of like Pink Floyd. The ending, we extended the ending, and it went into this kind of like it kind of built up almost like a Pink Floyd song where it just kept building and building, and then it ended. So that was one major difference. It was a bit longer. It was maybe instead of 3.5 minutes, maybe it was 5 minutes or whatever it was. I mean, it wasn't.
But radio does not like that.
But the thing was, I think that maybe they thought that all the production and everything distracted from the message, and maybe the lyrics and the sound of the vocal, what they felt, I think, was watered down by the strings in the background. I mean, it was pretty massive sound and shit, but I mean, but it was still they were. And then there's something called, it's also called demoitis, where you get married to the sound of the demo, and also not only the sound, but maybe the feel of it, and it being kind of stripped down and not overproduced or whatever. And I think maybe that's kind of like where they were coming from. They were kind of like, well, with all this other business going on in the song, maybe it's not as interesting or compelling. Maybe you lose something, man. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. We just try to write the shit and, and play it best we can and hope for the best, I guess.
You were talking earlier about like when bands are coming up like Shinedown, and I know you got into Saliva after the Josie days, so it's a different story for you. But it's always funny to me, these bands, especially the ones that you're in or that were around in that time period, they never got the award show attention. And you talked about, money bags weren't dropped off at K-Rock or, to Weatherly or, all these people, it's like, hey, look, to hook us up, man. And those were the days that's how things worked. But especially with Shinedown, I remember, being so close to you guys, it really bothered me. And I can't remember what award show it was, but they did a Leonard Skinner tribute. And you guys had just put out Simple Man. And because I remember that was a big deal. I actually I remember calling Brent one day and I said, hey, dude, there's a lot of kickback. This is in the early days of social media, so people were still trying to figure it out. But in the South, Skinner fans were pissed that you guys touched Simple Man and not realizing the backstory of one being from Jacksonville, where the Van Zants are, the relationship with Judy Van Zant, Brent slept on her couch, the relationship with Freebird, the establishment. So nobody understood well,
also, Jason was married to Melody Van Zant, Ronnie's daughter, and they have two beautiful children. Now they're, of course, grown up, but we were super deeply connected with, like you said, I mean, and honestly, I think that song actually came, it wasn't planned though. There's a whole story with that being at radio. We were at WAAF up in Boston with Mistress Carrie, and we were at the station. Do you know this? I'm sure you know the story, but I don't know if everybody does, and I'll keep it brief. But so she was asking, she's like, everyone's been coming in and they've been doing like covers, and do you guys know any covers? And we're like, man, we don't really know any covers. I mean, we just don't do that in the set. I mean, we'd messed around, and STP had come out with Suit That You Wear, and of course STP was on Atlantic, same label, and we love the band. Still, it's still one of my favorite bands ever. But so we were like, well, maybe we'll try Suit That You Wear, and it was on the Thank You. It was like they did a greatest hits, and that was like a bonus song. Do you know the song I'm talking about, Suit That You Wear?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So we tried I don't even think we got through the chorus. It was like a train wreck, dude. So we were like, oh my God. So I was in there and I was like, man, y'all should do Simple Man. Cause we were at the Freebird in Jacksonville, not too long before we were up there back in Boston and on the road. And they had done it as a tribute to Judy acoustically at that show. Right. And Brent's like, man, dude, if I fuck this up, what if I don't remember the words, man? Like what then you think they hated us? They're gonna hate us in. So got through it. and they killed it. I mean, him and Jason, it was just him and Jason, one acoustic, one vocal. And later on, I mean, the phones lit up. People were like, what?
Yeah.
So it became the most streamed or listened to song on the station in the station's history, man. So anyway, so yeah, as far as award shows go, especially for, I think they finally just got an award at, what was that, iHeart Music Awards? They finally,
yeah, but that's.
but I mean, but no, Grammys. I mean, I don't even know why we weren't ever in the conversation. I mean, it was kind of a kick in the nuts, because I mean, you have to imagine the band, in the early days, and they carried the torch way into something even bigger than when I was a part of it. But like over 20 #1 singles at rock, and I mean, it's almost like they just brushed us aside. Like and even nowadays, you think about rock at award shows, they don't even televise that shit, do they anymore? Like, I mean,
and Shinedown did the right thing. Now, granted, this was right after you and Jason were not in the band, but the next step was to get the mainstream attention by doing crossover songs to top 40. And I remember when Bill with Indigoot came down to Tampa and says, here's the Sound of Madness. I want you to listen to it. We sat in the 98 Rock studio in Tampa and listened to the whole thing. And he says, pick out which song should go to top 40. And I picked it, Second Chance. And I just said, these are hits. I mean, these are top 40 hits. He goes, those are exactly the ones we're going to send it to like, I felt cool. I'm in the presence of a very smart man. And I felt like I knew what I was talking about. And exactly that's what happened. And I was surprised that I think there was a nomination at one time for a major award. And I'm not trying to knock the iHeart award shows, but for those that are listening, you have to understand there's award shows like the Grammys. And then there are award shows like the AMAs.
I knew you were going to say that, dude, because it's not to trivialize it, but I mean, Billie Eilish didn't even show up. She won like 10 of them. What the fuck, man? Like,
there's a difference between the credibility for award shows. I will tell you this, and Brad will back this up.
Yeah.
There are certain award shows that are run by certain companies that will cut deals with artists. So like a lot of times when you see an artist win an award, don't be surprised to see specific companies in the especially radio business be at the forefront of this upcoming tour or song. For example, don't be surprised within this next year, Beyonce being at the forefront for a certain radio company with best country or whatever she won, that people's minds were just blown. There's more to that story, stand by. You know what I'm talking about, Brad. It's like you do us a favor, we give you an award and put you on TV.
I mean, it's like The Voice. I mean, yeah, it's more about the judges. I mean, how many people really came from that show? And it's more about, oh, by the way, Gwen Stefani's got a new record coming out, and then there's the video, and then it's just. But with the award shows, it definitely, they're like, no, but the fans voted for this. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, maybe they did vote, but can we see the books? Can we see can we see the accounting books actually, and see who's advertising, of course, on the fucking, for the show, who's behind these artists, and you'll see, like you said, oh, wow, now their tour's being sponsored by the same company that was the lead sponsor, the top sponsor of the award show that they got the award for country. First of all, I mean, I've heard the song. I mean, whatever, dude. I'm not gonna knock Beyonce, but I mean, and actually, I think she is from Texas. Maybe, hey, just maybe she's a closet country person, and we never know that. We never knew she was, packaged and sold as a pop diva. All these years, maybe she can skin a buck, run a trot line. We don't know. Maybe she's from Texas. Maybe she can hurt. I've seen Yellowstone. Shit.
I think it's her and her husband giving the big "go fuck yourself" to everybody else. He's like, I control the Super Bowl halftime show now. Yeah. Watch, I'm going to get my wife to be the biggest thing in country music. Watch this. Yeah. I think it's just a big hustle game, and each into their own. You do your thing. The companies will bow down if there's enough money involved in it. But look, I know for a fact, I know people's names that have said, you're getting the award. We need this from you. There's going to be free shows, and that's how it's just going to play. But in the rock world, like even performing, I mean, like take Saliva, back, when Click, Click, Boom and Ladies and Gentlemen, these songs were huge. In Saliva, don't forget this. Saliva is in a different category than even Shinedown, because Saliva is considered a stadium band. Like Ladies and Gentlemen is played as an anthem in football stadiums, in arenas. That's next level shit. When you have a song that's that like has that kind of melody, Queen, We Will Rock You. Some reason Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes is an anthem song. That's next level stuff. Still, no performances on award shows.
No.
Zero.
Well, also Click, Click, Boom. I mean, you got to imagine too that that was in Talladega Nights. I mean, NASCAR. I mean, all those outlets for exposure for some of those songs, Saliva include, and actually Fly from the Inside too. I mean, we were on video games, and I'm just sitting there like, but it's almost an afterthought, like what is it, it's. I don't know who, like, maybe we didn't drop the right bag of money to the right guy or somebody. I mean, and maybe there's some relationships too that happen for bands, and maybe someone sleeps with somebody, and then all of a sudden, damn, they on MTV. I can't believe they're all over MTV now. Where'd that come from? I mean, there's some dirty shit going on. You got to imagine, beyond just money. I mean, there's some blackmail. I mean, there's got to be some crazy shit going on there, man.
Yeah. It sucks for the rock fan. I mean, that's why everybody says rock and roll is dead. When people say that to you, they say, hey, Brad, rock and roll is dead. How do you respond to that?
That's tough for me, but I kind of see where they're coming from. But at the same time, I do feel like everything has peaks and valleys. I just feel like it's coming back up. It's coming back up. You know what I mean? Because for when I was coming up, rock was everything, man. I mean, hip hop was just kind of a newer sort of style of music and genre music and rap and all that. But then it seemed like, and some people actually, and I've heard this philosophy before, that it ended with Kurt Cobain because he was like the anti-rock star. Did you ever hear this sort of run through? So they were like, well, he didn't want to be famous. You had the 80s where it was glam and lights and all this was going on, and everyone was, they had their Aquanet and their, their other shit. And here comes a guy that was like, I get the camera out my face. I don't want it, don't like it. So then the rappers were like, we'll take it. So they did. They took it.
That's interesting. I've never even thought about that theory.
I've heard about, and there's more to it than that, but I mean, that's the gist of it. And honestly, and then you have, like the emo phase after kind of like, was kind of not after, the early like 2000s, but it kind of came, and those kids weren't exactly all about I mean, they were on TV and stuff, but they weren't like, camera media darlings either necessarily. A couple of them were, but so they were kind of anti-fame too necessarily.
Yeah. And also the emo, like, My Chemical Romance would probably be the biggest emo band coming from the 2000s.
Great band.
Yeah. And a great band. You're absolutely right. But you also had the revitalization of the pop punk world. I mean, that's what made that early 2000s revitalization of rock and roll pretty cool, because you had the OGs and radio, we call them golds, where you had Metallica and Pearl Jam. Unfortunately, it was considered gold. Not unfortunately, because that's one of my favorite bands, but that they're old. Nirvana and all those grunge bands. Then you had this new rock and roll, which was Shinedown, Three Doors, Godsmack, Seven Dust, Saliva, those types of bands. Then you mix in this new pop punk with the Starting Line and Good Charlotte and Newfound Glory and the Ataris. Mm-hmm. And you're going, whoa, we just don't have enough room on this radio station to play all this music. Because remember, streaming did not exist.
It didn't.
But it was a cool time, though. It was a very cool time. It was the last time it existed.
I mean, and here we are 20 something years later. And I mean, rock and roll, I looked at the awards, for the AMAs even, of course. And meanwhile, a lot of the major winners of the awards on that show weren't even there. They were noticeably absent. But I'm scrolling. I'm like, what the fuck is the rock people, dude? Like, it's literally, I'm scrolling and like second to or third to the bottom. Here's, best rock song and the best rock album. And there's like 3 awards for rock. And I think 21 Pilots won 2 of them.
That's
which,
crazy.
I mean, they're on alternative rock. I mean, but are they rock? I mean, I guess they're alternative rock, whatever.
Papa,
but I'm like, they're not exactly Guns N' Roses. You know what I mean? To me, or fucking, so.
There should be a category called pop rock, because like 21 Pilots, and I think they're very talented.
I love that band. They're a great band. No doubt. But I'm just saying, though.
Music's great. But to me, that's not, rock. So you have to kind of, unfortunately, you do have to compartmentalize. That's the problem when you live in a world where, not to get political, but everybody gets a trophy. So you're like, well, why can't this person do this? I'm not saying you can't cross genres, but you do have to have set lines of what is. Like a lot of what I would consider rock and roll, they've now bumped down to alternative, and what would be rock and roll, or no, what would be heavy metal would be rock. And then I don't know what they do for heavy metal. It's just they fucked it all up. They've changed all the rules, and I don't like it.
Well, alternative. I mean, actually, Shinedown just got #1 on pretty sure on the alternative rock chart. Which kudos to them, because I mean that song 365 is a great song. But again, though, that's a pretty lighter pop-y rock song. You know what I'm saying? And for a while there on alternative, after like, that initial, like the bands you were just talking about, we had our Day in the Sun, all of a sudden there were no bands on there besides the ones that they had to play, like Linkin Park and stuff like that had heavy guitars. Like no new bands. There was no new bands that had heavy guitars on there. It was all like synth and so, Foster the People and some of these super alt sounding bands. And I'm like, where's the balls? I mean, alternative doesn't mean you can't have balls and like kill it, like rock in there, but apparently for a while there, it did mean that. And now they would have to, when certain bands would come out with certain stuff, they'd have to play it. I mean, they have to play the new Linkin Park. They'd be lynched if they didn't play new Linkin Park, right? But even the old Linkin Park, they'd have to have in some sort of level of rotation on those bands, and same with, Seether or Shinedown or whatever. So it got to the point where we used to play those stations. We used to play their barbecue or their big show or their thing. And now they won't even return our phone calls, and now it's 21 Pilots or somebody, there's a 2-piece, the guy's got a keyboard and a drummer, and that's who's playing their shit, so they ghosted us. They really did, man. They ghosted a lot of those early 2000s bands, and just any band that had a guitar or like a heavy sound to it, man.
I know what that's like from the radio side of things. You
do.
You befriend a lot of people in the industry, and then they kind of take off, and no one in particular. I'm just saying, I just know that feeling. All right. Well, look,
man.
This is the intro. This is episode 1. This is a blast, and we're gonna have so much fun. I mean, we're just kind of bullshitting on this one. We'll talk about more specific things, and I think we also can open it up. Whether you want to reach out to Brad or me via thebaileyshow.com, any questions that, you like, rock and roll questions, Saliva, Shinedown, any of the songs that Brad's been a part of, even going to the Puddle of Mud stuff, Fuel Days. I mean, any of those questions, we welcome those. And you can find both of us on social media. Thebaileyshow.com has got all my socials. Brad's a very easy person to find, obviously, and we can go through them and answer them. But I had some fun. This was good. You have a good time? Episode 1?
Dude, I had a blast. Episode 1 in the books, man. The Vinyl Road. Let's go. I love it, man.
All right. Till next time. We appreciate you. Thanks, and bye.
I think we should do a podcast about rock and roll. And that's what stories.
That's it for this episode. Check out thebaileyshow.com for more shows. Until next time.